It's great to see so many people here bright and early in the morning. I'm glad you all could make it. We've been having a great expo so far. Just lots of energy, lots of people here yesterday. Who was able to attend the expo yesterday by raising a hand? All right. I am so impressed with Anaheim. It has been such great energy, such a great crowd. And we've got a lot in store for you today as well. So to start off, my name is Jared Warburton. I'm the Director of Marketing for the Americas region. We've got a great meeting planned for you today. Over the next hour and a half, you'll hear from Dr. Joe Chang, our Chief Scientific Officer. You'll hear from Larry Couture, a family practice physician who lives here in California. You also hear from John McClellan. He's a former healthcare sales representative and one of our top sales leaders within Nu Skin. So during the course of this session, you're going to learn about innovative products in both nutrition and skincare. And more importantly, you're going to learn about the science behind those products. So we're going to get in depth in the details. You're also going to learn how these products can be incorporated into a medical practice and into the healthcare industry. And finally, you'll learn how to turn your passion into profits with Nu Skin. So to get started, I am very proud to introduce our Chief Scientific Officer, Dr. Joe Chang. Please give him a round of applause.
Morning. So I guess we still have some stragglers coming in. Good morning, ISIO. Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go. I knew it. I knew I get responsible. Yeah, that's great. Well, good morning. Thanks for coming. How many of you are new? You're fairly new to Nu Skin? I think I spoke to a few this morning. So maybe just for your benefit, maybe we can sort of explain a bit more about the company and what we do and how we do our products in Nu Skin, so that you have a better understanding as you walk through the expo and you look at all the different products. At the very minimum, you will have a background how those products are being developed. I think fundamentally there are two things we focus on in Nu Skin, and that is that there are lots and lots of competitors, obviously, in this industry, and fundamentally it comes down to this phrase I hear often, and in fact every time, and that is a lot of things are being said and a lot of things are being claimed for the products. Okay, so I mean there's not a company out there that says come to the company because we have a great opportunity based on lousy products. I mean it's just not going to happen. So and we say a lot of things, but hopefully in Nu Skin what you'll find at the end of the day that we also do what we say, which is an important thing for us, because in Nu Skin we are a science-based company, and we are committed to making sure that our claims or whatever we say about our products are really going to be based on scientific evidence in some shape or form. So they're substantiated, and in science, it's not a matter of what you say, it's a matter of what you do. That perhaps is a big difference for many of us in Nu Skin. And we have converged, and over the last 30 years or so, if you look at the logo of Nu Skin, it represents a fountain of youth, right? I think many of you can see that immediately. And we almost have come full circle now after 30 years, that with all the science and all the advances of scientific knowledge, we're now able to really embellish and confirm and somehow validate that logo. Because I think we've found, for all intents and purposes, the fountain of youth, if you will, at a genetic level. And being with that particular important insight, we have used that insight to develop a new technology that we call ageLOC, that is profoundly powerful to create the next generation of anti-aging products. But more importantly, I think it's also key, when you talk about anti-aging, I think immediately it shifts your mindset to think about the old demographics. I like to think that our products, as far as anti-aging is concerned, is more about preservation of youth. Yeah? So with that slight shift in the phraseology, I think you can imagine that all our products are equally suitable for the younger demographic as well. And many of you have noticed are fairly young too, right? So, and our products are equally suitable for all of you, and you will derive, in fact, fundamentally, even greater benefits the sooner you start using our products. So, and then another important thing with this genetic insight that we have infused into ageLOC, we're looking now, instead of just covering up the science of aging, we're truly addressing and trying to alleviate these sources of aging, the fundamental cornerstones or the causes of aging. And that always invariably in science, when you go that upstream to look at how you can intervene and prevent a problem, is usually far more effective. So that's the key to the whole thing of what we're trying to do. But if you stack it up, what we have in ageLOC, and I'll talk science, and some of you will quickly, in spite it's being the morning, you'll go to sleep. It's a lot of jargon we use in science, I apologize at the outset. But fundamentally, when you distill all what our scientists are talking about in Nu Skin, we're talking about breakthrough genetic approach now. This is really the first time ever that we have aggregated all the genetic knowledge relating to aging into one technology that we can use to develop new products, okay? And it's not an easy technology to create and develop because it took 30 years between ourselves and our partners as well. We spent millions and millions of dollars and investment to develop this technology. It's not an overnight creation, right? So it didn't happen in 6 days. So it took more than 30 years to get this done. So it's important to realize that, because then you have an exclusive barrier that none of our competitors are able to compete in this space unless they spend 30 years doing it. Okay? So, and it's patented, it's protected, and these are important things with a technology, because if it's not patented, then people can copy it and use it without any infringement. So, and it rests on this bullseye, I call it. And although we use a term ourselves, we call it UG clusters, what we're really referring to as far as this bullseye is concerned is that these are very important groups of genes directly responsible for aging of tissues in the body, if not the whole body. Okay? So this is an important insight. This is the one, because if you don't have a target, you have nothing to shoot at. You'll be shooting blind. And that's not good. It's sort of random development. Here, we have such a clear and accurate bullseye in front of us that all our scientists can then start using focusing on the bullseye to select the best ingredients for products. Whether it's for skincare or for the supplement side, it doesn't matter. The bullseye remains the same. It's the genetic sources we're going after. So, therefore, I mean, we like to use, familiar terms, anti-aging products, but I think it's time that we start thinking about these ageLOC products to be more preserving of youth or preservation of youth, right? So it's about quality of life. It's not so much about longevity. It's not about living up to 150 years old. It's about living as well as you can and as healthy as you can to whatever lifespan that you are able to sort of exist within yourself individually. That's a great thing to aim at, right? Because the quality of life fundamentally is far more important than living as long as you can. So living as long as you can sounds really compelling and sexy, but when you stop to think, it's not really the important thing. It's about the quality of life. Yeah. So that's what we are aiming at with ageLOC. And this millions of dollars of investment I've been referring to it's really demonstrated again. I can say any company can come up here and say I spent millions of dollars doing research and giving you the best products. The question is, right? How do you demonstrate? Show me. Show me the beat. I mean, what exactly have you done to substantiate the claim that you have indeed invested in your product development? Well, here's an example. That's a $100 million building you're looking at over there, right? That's the Innovation Center that was opened in April 2014. and it's $100 million. That's a lot of money, right? So, and I think it's a demonstration, right? It's a demonstration of how Nu Skin is very committed to making sure that your opportunity, as many of you in the field do, it can be supported to the best of our ability, as far as the products are concerned, right? So this is just a product component of the whole Nu Skin commitment to all of you. And there are other things that are happening as well that the company invests in that will support your opportunity. So we have that 75 scientists, I believe. You know, this is the motley crew we have working on your on your products. But the important thing to remember is, yeah, it's great, it's 75 scientists. What is even, once again, what's more important is that these scientists come from different backgrounds. They're trained in different scientific disciplines. Yeah, we have chemists, we have nutritionists, we have biologists, we have all kinds of disciplines working in our labs. And that is very important, because if you don't have that, and you only have a single discipline represented in the company or in your R&D, you're not going to be able to sort of develop the best and the most efficient way of making products and developing products. Okay, it requires, science is now a multidisciplinary activity. It's no more just one white coat guy standing there and the company say, well, we have R&D as well. That white guy over there, that guy over there in the white lab coat, he's our scientist, he's great, right? But what he doesn't tell you is that in the evening, that lab coat from white, it changes to brown. And then he's given a room. Right? So he transformed himself. So I think it's important. It's and we also have, and this is also something that's unique and important to what we do, demonstrate what we do, and that's the Scientific Advisory Board. These are world-class scientists. You seldom find them, you know, in another company. You seldom find the quality associated with these guys in other competitive companies. So, and once again, these are our advisors, and more often than not, they're rather blunt. They tell it like it is. They don't like what we do, and they think our science is shoddy. They'll let us know. So it's a very good check and balance, if you will. We're having this SAB because, first of all, sometimes they are former professors as well, and we hold some secret knowledge about them, so they can't leave. So, and they continue to advise us. But it's important to recognize it's global, and we have dermatologists and people from Harvard and so on. And once again, you know, they bring their different respective expertise to advise us on product development. So, I mentioned the sources of aging. So to graphically sort of put the two types of approaches side by side, you would imagine that the traditional, in every single competitive company that we've looked at, right? All they're looking at would be their approach is still focused on the signs and symptoms of aging. It's that simple. It really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter if they say they're looking at telomeres. It really doesn't matter they're looking at a single target and so on. And at the end of the day, they are really, in a way, they're like a blind man describing the elephant to you. Okay, so that's the traditional approach. It's about signs and symptoms. By contrast, the age-lock approach to anti-aging is about looking at truly the sources of aging. And here's another subtle thing, right? It's not about a single source of aging. It's about multiple sources that we are intervening at the same time. And that's why we talk about these clusters of genes. We're not looking at a single gene. So, and so on, because we know that that single gene, yes, it's important, but it's not going to account for more than 10% of the aging process. It's very multi-gene involvement in the whole aging process, especially when you try to get a product that works in the whole body. So that's our age-lock approach. It's very different, it's very powerful, and probably the most important is it's very effective. Okay, I think we've demonstrated that over the last 5 years. We have developed products through this approach, and they all turn out, the outcome or the result of using those products seem to be very different from what we have tried to do before HLAW. So, and this is the technology. That's the magical gene chip. That's the gene chip, that's the technology, if you will, that you can literally put all your genes in your body into a single chip and assess how they behave under a variety of conditions. This is magical. This is almost, in fact, if this is even more powerful than the computer chip, where you put all kinds of hard information on a silicon wafer and get the computer to run and process the information. Here, we can put all the biological information related to a gene and put it on this chip and be able to see what's happening before and after a product, for example, or before or comparing a pair of twins, one that looks much younger and is younger relative to the other twin that looks much older and physically and medically that the other twin is older. And we can see it can generate this kind of profile. We call them heat maps. That different colors represent just different activities of individual genes. And if you look at it carefully, it's not just one gene. There's about several hundred genes in that particular heat map. It's pretty powerful stuff. You know, it's never been done before. This is only achievable because, you know, the government spent $6 billion mapping all the 25,000 genes in the body in 2003. And now we can access that information via the gene chip technology. So when you have that kind of technology, right, and you are able to assess multiple genes activity at the same time, then you have opened up the door to look at our natural product library with thousands of these ingredients. Previously, we just go in there and sort of say, well, this one looks good because there's some information from some Chinese pharmacopoeia or from some European scientific paper that it looks good traditionally. Now, we can either confirm it or disprove it, whether that's true or not with gene chip technology. So we have this natural product library, or we call it the ingredient library, and put all these ingredients through the filter that we call HLAW. Very simple. Well, not that simple. It's 30 years of creating this particular filter. Okay? So, but fundamentally, that's what we do. We take all these ingredients and we screen them through this filter, and we choose the best based on scientific data, not based on a wet finger in the air. Sometimes it's the middle finger, but it doesn't matter. So, right? But now it's scientific evidence-based. It's evidence-based supplement product development or skincare development. So we choose the best ingredients, and that's not all. More often than not, a single ingredient will not be able to do everything. Right? So we blend those ingredients, the most effective, the most active ingredients together to finally give you the product that we launch. That's what we do. We have created a genetic filter looking into the body. Okay, and through this filter, we know how to manipulate the ingredients in such a way to put it into a final product. Nobody can look into the body as clearly and as insightful as we can with HLAW. 5 years ago, when we started to develop this HLAW, we would call all kinds of names. We would call liars. We would call, that can't be true. You guys are smoking something, which is now illegal in Colorado. But we didn't develop this in Colorado, so it's okay. All kinds of names. It's too good to be true because it sounded really magical, isn't it? It's almost like, I mean, it's not possible. But I think 5 years now, we got the validation that indeed this is the only way to go. This is the future that we have to look at, and we should expect it to happen. If you do anything else, you're riding a bicycle. with training wheel. Okay, we can't do that anymore, and we shouldn't do that anymore. Because even Google, right, about a couple of months ago in Wall Street Journal, they announced that they are investing, what, $250 million up in the Bay Area in an aging company. And in that company, they're actually focusing on developing anti-cancer drugs. Okay, because they also similarly believe if you understand the aging process better, then you're going to have a much more effective way of tackling cancer. I think we have the affirmation and the validation we need. There's no more too good to be true. You shouldn't say that anymore. Right? So, and it's sort of good for us because the space that we have carved out for us is really more about delaying the onset of aging rather than looking at the results of the aging process. Excuse me, right? So Google is great. They're looking after, in other words, the disease area. By contrast, we are much more into the prevention of disease, if you will. Because if you think about it, if we can delay and keep the body young, most of these diseases, not to say they won't happen, that they were going to happen much later in your age. So I think we truly have the validation now. So LifePack, for some of you new folks, is the centerpiece in our supplement category, and it's the most comprehensive nutritional supplement we have ever developed. Okay? And over the last 30 years, we have improved it, and foundationally, I think it's important to realize that 5-pack, if nutritionally, if you're healthy in the body, all our other age-lock products will work even better, right? So that's why we still continue to make sure that you understand what LifePack is, because it is an antioxidant supplement, and you can actually measure it. It's got all these forms of 60+ antioxidants. I don't think you can find another competitive antioxidant product out there that has this really the most comprehensive collection of antioxidants that you need, right? So, and once again, I noticed that sometimes the competition will say this particular antioxidant is more important than others. It's not quite true. They really don't understand science. Because a cell is not just a a consistent environment. It consists of all kinds of water environment, fat areas, and a hybrid of those two, water and oil interface and so on. And chemically, you cannot have these antioxidants going to every single space or location in the cell. And therefore, no matter how powerful an antioxidant is, if it doesn't get that, it doesn't do anything. Right? So, which drives me to one of the most important statements I've ever heard, and still resonates with me, is that LifePack actually gets to the site of action. Yeah? And the reason why we know because of that is because all this nanotechnology that we have incorporated into LifePack Nano, for example, and this nanotechnology helps to deliver many of the ingredients, not all of the ingredients or antioxidants require this technology modification, but some of them do. And we use it to make sure that every single antioxidant will get into the blood and will get to the site of action, so to speak. That's key. That's what LifePack Nano is. And that's why that's our flagship LifePack version. And it's really very powerful. And how do we know that? It's because of this particular technology. And this is the scanner. This is the biophotonic scanner. And this is the first time ever where we can actually not say it, but to demonstrate to you and answer the question, how do you know your supplements work? We don't have to say it anymore. This is the greatest. It's like, you know, every parent probably think the children are the most beautiful in the world, right? So, and here, in a sense, I'm going to tell you that LifePack is the most beautiful product we ever developed. And I can stop that. I don't need to now. You can actually validate and assess it yourself through this particular unit called the biophotonic scanner. Right? And a biophotonic scanner is very easy. It's less than a minute. In fact, maybe if you have a scanner here, you can scan yourself. and it will tell you exactly what your antioxidant status is in the body, not just in a particular area of your body, but throughout your body. So, and this is because we measure these antioxidants called carotenoids, and this paper is the pivotal, or maybe it's the pivot, an inflection point that validates measuring this particular class of antioxidants called the carotenoids is a very good indicator of overall antioxidant protection in the body. Okay, for many of the healthcare professionals, we can talk about that later because we have other studies that embellish this particular statement and conclusion as well. But fundamentally, we now know that the biophotonic scanner, when you get a number, right, you're either going to die or not going to die from antioxidant deficiency. No, okay, never heard of it. So, but it's a color scale, right? And we can see the fruits and vegetables. Again, it's a validation study. But just to show you, since everybody in the medical community accepts and recommends that 6 to 9 portions of fruits and vegetables, it's probably the most optimal daily intake of these kinds of nutrients. All right? So if we take that as the highest bar that we should try to aspire to, and when we use a scanner, we sure enough, we show, if you do take 6 and over portions of fruits and vegetables, you get the highest score possible relative to other people taking fewer portions. So we've validated a number, if you will, that if you get around 40,000 or so, you know, that will be the blue zone, that will be great. That will be the optimal number or the optimal antioxidant protection that everybody should have. And once again, in Nu Skin, we don't tell you that that's the number you should have. You can show it yourself and be able to determine whether you are in that range or not. So that's another demonstration, if you will, of why we're so committed to making sure that we support you, because, you know, this is not hype, this is what it is, and most people will either look at this number and be able to make up their own mind whether they have sufficient antioxidant protection. So that's the life pack. So with AgeLog, we're also beginning to understand the whole overall aging process. Antioxidants are part and parcel of the whole process, but it's not the only thing because of this genetic knowledge we have now. And we're starting to see also that somehow keeping the cells clean, in other words, really clean, getting rid, because every time your cell works, and all your cells in the body are working as we speak here, right? Your brain cells are working, because if your brain cells are not working, you wouldn't be able to understand what I'm saying. So, but during that working process, there's a lot of metabolism going on, and that generates a lot of byproducts, right? Because thinking is part and parcel of the result of a lot of biochemical processes happening in your brain and the rest of your body as well, walking for your muscle cells. So, but that process generates a lot of byproducts, and the cell has a mechanism to clean it every day while you sleep, in fact, right? So you've got to get rid of that. If you don't get rid of those waste products, you slowly over time, you get into a sort of an accelerated aging, and therefore that particular organ is not going to perform optimally. So we have a product that can able to do that. And also similarly, there's, especially in muscle cells, when you have this toxic buildup, we call it, you're going to have less energy as well. So these are the processes happening. So that's why we brought out this particular product, the first AgeLog supplement, if you will, called R². And the day version, there are 2 bottles. The day bottle you take will allow you to have more energy and chemical energy so that all your cells can function and operate effectively throughout the day. And then during night, when you take the night version, then your body, the cells start to clean themselves more efficiently. Right? This is not colon cleansing. Yeah, this is not colon cleansing. If you want colon cleansing, I can recommend a laxative. Right? Since it's actually cellular cleansing, which I think is a far more powerful and far more meaningful, systemic way of cleaning your body than just the other kind of cleansing. Okay, so this is really R squared, and it's targeted once again against the sources of aging, and it gives you a new level of energy when you take this product on a regular basis. Okay. So, and also we have some clinical data, and this is looking at muscle, because if you're going to say energy, there's certain things that should happen to give you more energy, and that's what happened. Is that exercise is highly dependent, if not totally dependent, on the burning of a substance in the muscle called glycogen, right? So that shows you there's about a 53% drop when you exercise in this particular study, but in the presence of R squared, there's sort of less depletion of glycogen. Less than half of it. I think that's pretty good. So you can imagine if you translate that, if you're 53% and now you're more efficient and you only use 23%, to do the same level of exercise, you can do twice as much. So that's the energy we're talking about, impact. So, and with TR90, this is the other weight management system that we launched a year ago. And once again, this funnel just shows you how we select the best ingredients for the weight management. Like that H-lock filter. So we use that filter, except here graphically shown, and we filter out all the ones that we don't think are as effective for a weight management product, and we chose the best ones. And this is what we find. So these are heat maps, once again, okay? So what we show, when you look at a person with high fat control, you're going to see under the microscope really huge, humongous fat cells. Those are fat cells filled with a lot of lipid. Okay, that's why they're so large, they're enlarged, if you will. And from that tissue, we can get a heat map through that gene chip technology, and we say, okay, we can match this heat map with what we see visually on the size of the fat cells, and that's why you're fat. Okay, so we connected that. Now, when we give one of the ingredients to these, in this particular study, to the same person, we can see those fat cells getting significantly and substantially smaller. Right? If you look at it, same number of fat cells, but now they're much, much smaller. And then what we have, also similarly, that through the gene chip technology, we find that the heat map is very different. In fact, when you take this and I push it across and look at a heat map taken from fat tissues of the thin person, they look rather similar. That's the magic of H-lock. That's how we demonstrate the difference. That's how we develop our product. Okay, we correlated the genetic change with a functional change. And the functional change is meaningful. And that's not all, right? When you look at it, what we wanted with TR90 is to make sure that you don't lose your muscle. Because muscle, as a tissue, is by far the most important tissue that you should preserve if you want to maintain your weight loss. If you don't, we have studies to show that most of the weight management systems or weight loss programs out there, 40% of the weight loss is associated with muscle loss. And when you have that, why do you think Jenny Craig is still in business? Because you get all your weight back and you go in again because you can't keep the weight off. So, and whereas by contrast with TR90, you can see clearly that there's no loss of muscle and only 100%. When you step on the scale, when you see a reduction in your weight, that reduction is totally attributable to just fat. Clinically proven, clinically demonstrated. And this is what we see. Now, when you look at it, it doesn't look like it's not very effective, it's not very impressive. But if you look carefully, this is really good. Because Stan, before that, although he lost only about 23 pounds over 90 days, he looks far better. It almost looked like Brad Pitt, right? So, I mean, that's the body composition that we're talking about, that if you preserve your muscle, you are going to look better. And you are going to continue to burn the fat during a resting stage. And that's not gender. centric, it's gender neutral, because leaner here, similarly, you can see the shape of the body looks far more compelling after taking TR90. So these are realistic before and after. It's not showing you pictures that are astounding and you say, wow, I'm so impressed, I need to take that product. But these are realistic data that you can expect to get from TR90. All right? So, quickly on the facial spa, this is the one that we have. Someone mentioned to me the half-face demo. Again, how many companies do you really know that has a FDA cleared instrument? How many companies can actually be able to get one of their products after the FDA say, you guys need to send it in for evaluation and approval, or at least evaluation, is able to generate and already have the data available to get this kind of clearance? Very few in our industry. So, and again, it's a demonstration of our science, right? So quickly on to the future then. This is the product that Scott is actually trying to convince me he should be taking now. And this is the October Global Convention. And you know it's safe because I've already taken it for 12 months. And usually I do that for every new product because the scientists believe that I should take it first. They usually give it me on Friday. And then if I don't turn up on Monday, they know the product is not safe. Yeah, and I usually say, wow, you guys are really good, huh? It's a free clinical trial. I say, yeah, and you are also dispensable and not that important. We can always replace you if the product doesn't work. So that's what we do. It will launch in October of this year. And again, the most important thing for this year, from what we have learned over the last 5 years with HLOC, this is the mother of all HLOC products. This is essentially, for all intents and purposes, we have infused it with all the knowledge. We couldn't do this 3 years ago. We couldn't do this even 2 years ago, right? It's only very recently that we are able to have all the knowledge that we have gained, together with the millions and millions of dollars in investment with our partners and doing the studies, that we have reached a stage where we can bring you this product. And this biggest positive with this product is the fact that this is a systemic anti-aging or youth preservation product. It protects the whole body. It's not just certain organs. It's, for intents and purposes, every single organ in your body is going to benefit when it sees this product. Okay? And unlike LifePak, this product is also a product, it doesn't matter what your nutritional status is. It really doesn't matter. You got to take this. In other words, this is a product I, for one, will never ever forget to take. Because the ingredients that we found, and this is not a deliberate thing that we chose, it was driven by the genetic studies that we did. It's just so happened the ingredients that we put in, and blended together in youth, these ingredients we will never find in even the healthiest diet you can take. You're just not able to get these ingredients. And therefore, that's part of the reason why we think this is an indispensable product and something you can take. So, and this is what happens, it has benefits on the brain, the skeletal muscle, and so on. These are just examples of some of the benefits you will get with youth. So, and it's simple, it's just 2 capsules in the morning and 2 capsules in the evening. Simple product to take. So, and once again, I like to call this, we've been calling it up to this point an anti-aging supplement. I think this is more like a youth preservation supplement. Yeah? So, so that's the first product that US Scott is going to bring you in October. And then fairly quickly in 2016, there will be a skincare. I'm sure all of you have heard of it. If not the new folks, you can ask anybody sitting next to you. That what we is our customized skincare system. And it's been, you can use it to customize the type and select the types of anti-aging ingredients and other skincare ingredients, and put it into this machine, and it would deliver fresh dollop of skincare every morning and every evening, according to what you like to have. And so it's very smart. It doesn't have to do anything. And again, I think most likely we probably have spent more than $30 million investment in making sure that we can bring you meat. So and essential oils. Every single one of you smell like an essential oil. It's great. Scott's office smells like an essential oil store. So, and it's a great one. I think hopefully you use it. And once again, I think the difference between our oils and the types that are being offered is that I can assure you the oils that we have launched are the purest you can get your hands on. And it's not purest because I say so, it's the purest because our chemical analysis says so. And why is our chemical analysis so important? It's because all the equipment, and many of you, once again, I can tell you we have the best scientific equipment in the world and the most extensive types of equipment to have for chemistry. Come to Provo and look for yourself. But for now, take my word for it. And no other essential oil company has that kind of machines. It's not just a machine. You also need a highly trained chemist to be able to operate those machines. You know, I mean, you can't drive an R8 if you're not Dan McCormick. So, you know, it's clearly very important to have this equipment to be able to generate the data to make sure that they're pure. So that's what we do. We combine it with modern science and we launch you those 8 oils, and this is our 6S process. That's what we use. So it's almost like the chickens that come home to roost. We started 6S almost 15, 16 years ago, and we have to use that now to make sure that we sort of either validate the purity of the essential oils, and we have done that. There's certain data that we have shown that a couple of competitive products, I mean, it's awfully difficult to say that they are certified pure because they rely on the suppliers for that certification, and it turns out they're missing a lot of contaminants that they cannot see because they just don't know what to look for. So, and that's what we do. So the science is boring, but I think it turns out to be pretty important and meaningful when you look at essential oils. And it's pure grade essential oils, and we'll continue. Obviously, Scott has done his LSO, and over the next couple of months we'll see what we can do to expand the line as well. So, not to worry. So we come home to this final statement then. We are going to continue to be a science-based company. There are no ifs and buts about it. We are committed. We spend millions of dollars, but fundamentally, it comes down to making you sure that we can keep the promise behind our products on all those 4 important features. Yeah. So, and hopefully, as you hear and learn more about the company, we continue to demonstrate. We do what we say, and we don't just say what we say. So, thanks very much, and for listening.
Thank you, Joe. Isn't Joe great? I just love having the opportunity. Every time I get to sit and listen to him and just soak up that wisdom, it's awesome. Next, we are happy to have with us Larry Couture. Just want to give a brief bio for Larry. Larry is a board-certified family medical physician working in Riverside, California for the last 20 years. He completed his pre-med pharmaceutical degree in Canada and medical school at Loma Linda University Medical Center. He did a 3-year residency in family medicine at San Bernardino County Medical Center, currently known as Arrowhead Hospital. Dr. Couture now has the privilege of working with his 2 sons, Jason and Sean, who are also physicians, and also his daughter, Ray Lynn, who is a physician assistant. Together, their goal is to help patients find health and happiness and to live life to its fullest potential. So please help me welcome Dr. Larry Couture.
Well, thank you so much, Jared, for that introduction, and thank you for this opportunity to share with you a few thoughts about my personal experience over the last few years with Nu Skin. As Jared mentioned, my name is Larry Couture. I'm a family practice physician working in Riverside, California for about the last 20 years. I came by way of Canada back in 1992. I was 39 years old and headed south to this land of milk and honey to try out my hand in medical school. You know, I think back now, and I can still remember the day when we had this huge garage sale. We sold everything that we owned other than a few personal belongings. My car sold that day, and a short time after, my home sold, and so I had no choice but to come south. And so we came, and we came because I had this huge dream, because it was an opportunity of a lifetime for me. And I came because I had the support of my wife and the consent of my children. They were teenagers at the time, and I'm not sure they knew what we were getting into, but it sounded like an incredible adventure at the time. And so we headed south, kind of like the Beverly Hillbillies, really. We weren't sure what we were coming to, but you know, I look back and I see that I was so foolish to make a decision like that. But you know, as I look back now, I have to tell you, it was the most fantastic decision I've ever made in my life, next to joining Nu Skin. Because the truth is, I get the chance to work with my entire family each and every day. As Jared says, I work with my two sons, Jason, on your far left, who never wears a white coat, and Sean, and my daughter, Raylyn. Both of them are physicians, and Raylyn is a physician assistant with a specialty in cardiology and family medicine. And so we have a wonderful time. We really do. It truly is a blessing to work together with your family each and every day. My wife, Cheryl, by the way, is retired. She has been for the last 3 years. She's the smart one in the family. But the truth is she's probably busier now than she ever has been in her working career, because she gets the opportunity, the privilege really, of working with and taking care of our grandchildren. We have 6. And so each and every day she has the opportunity of kind of taking care of and being with, especially Raylyn's 5-year-old twins, who have been to more Nu Skin meetings than most. But you know, I absolutely adore grandchildren. How many of you are grandparents? So you kind of know that feeling, right? You know, they just infuse you with this incredible energy each and every day. And I love that. But I also love the fact that they teach me something every day, especially about this modern technology. You know, I joke around that this iPhone I carry really ought to be given to my 5-year-old, because he handles this more than I do, and he knows so much more about it than I do. I know that when I check my bill every month and I see all these downloads. But he does teach me so much about it. As a matter of fact, this is kind of how it looks at our house most of the time. It says here, no, Grandma, listen. You've got to double-click the Internet Explorer icon. Well, it really is a lot of fun. But as I said earlier, I practice in Southern California with my family doing medicine, and I absolutely love what I do. We have a very large practice. We service probably about 13,000 patients currently, and it's growing every day. And we absolutely love what we do, there's no question. But about 3 years ago, we kind of woke up one day and said, you know, I'm not sure this is what we signed up for, because we would get to work when it was dark, and we'd leave when it was dark, and I'd have to pinch myself every day and remind myself that this was sunny California I was in. I'd never seen the sun for days. And I realized at that point that something had to be done. I had to change the model a little bit. I was in search of freedom, like all of us. I wanted to get to that place in my life where I could have financial and time freedom to live life on my own terms. And I was realizing quickly that as wonderful as this was, it wasn't going to get me there quickly enough. And so it was at that point, providentially, that my wife came to me. You know, women are amazing. They're just visionaries to the core. They get this stuff so much faster than us guys do for some reason. And she came to me one day and said, look, if I could show you a way to potentially supplement that income of yours, where it would cost you really a very small investment, a very minimal risk, but there would be a huge potential to go along with this thing, would you at least be interested in taking a look? And I said, absolutely not. I mean, I was a healthcare professional. You know, all of you healthcare professionals know that we're taught to put our blinders on and our walls up. We're taught to be skeptical, to ask questions. And so that's exactly what I did. I said, oh no, this can't be. And so one day she said, look, after a few months of persistent perseverance, she said, why don't you just come to the headquarters with me one day, that's in Provo, Utah, spend a day and a half, kind of check the place out, research this stuff, and you'll be able to tell what you're going to say no to. And I said, fantastic, that's a great idea. Because I thought for sure that would be my final no. But you know, when I got there, kind of a setting just like this, and I saw and I felt and I touched and I experienced all that Nu Skin had to offer in this field of anti-aging, I tell you, I was awestruck. You know, there was a friend of mine, Melissa, on the way home last night, she said, you were Twitter-pated. And I said, that's it. I hadn't been Twitter-pated very much up until then. And I was just spellbound. Because I realized that this may very well be that opportunity of a lifetime that I really had been looking for. And so, as I did my research, I came to understand the value of this device right here called the biophotonic scanner that Dr. Joe Chang mentioned. And what I realized that finally, in the world of medicine, we now have a tool that could measure antioxidant levels in the tissue in as little as 30 seconds. You know, up until this point in time, the only way that we could get antioxidant levels in the tissue was to do tissue biopsy. We'd do that, send it to the lab, it would take weeks to get a result and cost thousands of dollars. And now, all of a sudden, we had this beautiful, sexy, non-invasive machine that could give you a very accurate result, as accurate as tissue biopsy in 30 seconds, to tell you what your antioxidant levels were. Now, you all know the value of antioxidants. I mean, that's why we eat the leafy vegetables, the brightly colored fruits and vegetables. That's why we take supplements, to raise that antioxidant protection, to protect our cells, our DNA, from all that free radical damage that takes place in our life each and every day. And so I realized the importance of such, and I wanted my patients to realize that value as well. And so here was a tool that could help us with all of that. Here was a tool, like Dr. Chang said, that could actually tell us if the supplements that we've been paying for months and months on end were truly working. Or were we just creating expensive urine? And so I was fascinated because I realized that this could be that tool I was looking for that could help me and my patients focus on health and wellness. That was probably the primary reason. This focus on health and wellness, because as healthcare professionals, most of us realize that in America, we practice sick care more than we practice health care. You know, we're very good at acute care problems. But wouldn't it make much more sense if we could teach our people, our patients, our family, how to get healthy, how to stay healthy, and how never to have to see a doctor? That would make much more sense. Because I wanted my patients to know that they had to take responsibility for their own health and wellness. Because, as we all know, the choices that we make in life in terms of our health and wellness make all the difference in the world. You see, these two women are approximately the same age. I mean, I look at this and I can tell you that's powerful. And perhaps the greatest difference was the choices that they made in their life. And so I wanted my patients to realize that if they made good, healthy choices, practiced daily exercise, proper dietary habits, incredible absorbable supplements, they too could improve their health and wellness substantially. And so that focus impressed me dearly with this tool. Secondly, I was highly Twitter-pated by this cutting-edge technology of this machine. You know, here was a tool that was developed over a course of years by scientists and engineers collaborating on this project. A tool that was based on Nobel Prize-winning science called Raman spectroscopy. You know, quite simple but very complex at the same time. Dr. Raman winning this Nobel Prize because he discovered that if you shone this laser beam into the palm of the hand, well, it wasn't the palm of the hand back then, but this machine is based on that technology, shining that light into the palm of the hand at a wavelength of a blue light. It hits carotenoids, the main source of antioxidants in the tissue. It shifts the light to green and it's captured and recorded. Carotenoids are the only substance on the face of this planet that will shift it to that degree. It's incredibly accurate and marvelous. And so it uses that incredible technology. It's a tool that represents a culmination of over 15, actually it's more than that now, probably 17 or 18 years, and millions of dollars worth of research and development. And when I saw that, I became so impressed and intrigued, and I realized that my patients would love this. And by the way, they do. They are thrilled that I had the foresight to be able to bring this into my practice for their benefit and their advantage. And then, really, it was supplemental income as well. Because, you know, back a few years ago, before the advent of the Affordable Care Act, I think it's called the Unaffordable Care Act today, we weren't sure what was going to happen in the field of medicine, right? You know, overhead costs were increasing, the revenue stream was decreasing, and we realized that if we were going to keep the doors open to practice medicine the way we wished, we just may have to have a bit of a cushion. Some supplemental income coming in on a daily basis that could help us continue the work that we were doing. And so we looked at this, and certainly it has provided that over the last 2.5 years in our practice. I can't tell you how much. I can just tell you it is substantial. And the doors are still open. The last thing I think that impressed me to think seriously about this biophotonic scanner was I was just afraid that if I didn't take advantage of this golden goose, I'd be kicking myself in the buttocks for years to come. You know, ironically, I had read a story a short time before this that helped impress this concept upon me. It was a story of two men. Their names were Walter and Arthur. And one day, Walter and Arthur found themselves in the middle of nowhere in this open field surrounded by a grove of trees, and they got to talking. And Walter walked up to Arthur and said, "You know, Arthur, if I were you, I would buy this property that we're standing on right now, because one day it's going to be worth literally millions of dollars. This property right here in the middle of nowhere is going to have houses and hotels and buildings and banks. It's going to be a metropolis worth millions of dollars." Well, as the story goes, Arthur thought about it for a long while, came back to Walter and said, "You know, I don't think so. I just can't envision how that's going to happen. I mean, we're in the middle of nowhere here. I just don't see how in my lifetime this is ever going to amount to anything." And so he turned down the offer, and sure enough, true to his word, Walter put up a park to create value in the area. And sure enough, that property they'd been standing on years prior became worth millions. And there truly was and is houses and hotels and banks and buildings. It's a thriving metropolis worth millions. It's actually just across the street from here. Because the park that Walter put up is called Disneyland. Walter, you see, is Walt Disney. And Arthur is Art. Art Linkletter. You've heard of him, right? Yes, you know, he did become popular and perhaps successful in his day because he realized the value of young people and how you could capture such incredible excitement just listening to the words out of the mouths of babes, right, that he could share with the world. But he was heard oftentimes since that fateful day telling a number of people that he truly did miss the boat that day. And so as I thought about that, I thought, oh my goodness, I'm not missing the boat on this one. And so we decided to jump in because really, you know, when you think about it, the first step to getting anywhere is deciding you're no longer willing to stay where you are. And so we jumped in. And I have to tell you, that was the most refreshing jump I've made in a long, long time. And it's not just because of the supplemental income, it's more so because of the response that I get to enjoy almost each and every day in my practice now. Things like this, patients saying, you know, that's absolutely incredible. I just can't believe this device. Do you realize, doctor, I've been using vitamins for 3 years. I've been paying $200-300 a month and I only scored whatever. I love that one. Because I can say, you know, I'm so sorry, but I've got the answer. And then, of course, thank you for this amazing tool. And so, in summary, I have to tell you that Nu Skin, as a company, truly has changed my life and my family's life substantially. That biophotonic scanner has literally changed the course of my business. My clients love me, and I am just glad that at this point in my life, I never missed the boat on this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. So we've had a great session so far. We have one more speaker left. I'm very pleased to introduce John McClellan. John McClellan began his career in high-tech selling in the healthcare field back in the 1970s, consulting and training with doctors in the use of orthopedic implants and new medical technologies. John actually owned and operated a distributorship for Zimmer Corporation and managed a team of highly trained sales associates in a territory that covered 6 states. In 1989, John started to notice changes in the healthcare industry and decided to sell his business and retire. And after a brief retirement, John joined Nu Skin as a distributor and built a successful team that now spans the globe. In fact, today John is now one of Nu Skin's top sales leaders and has helped several others achieve success within the company. John's been married to his wife for over 40 years. They have 6 children and 5 grandchildren. And in his free time, John loves sports, family activities, and serving others. So please help me welcome John McClellan.
Thank you. Correction, 6 grandchildren. Yeah. All girls. My dad said to me, son, learn to put the stem on the apple. But, so I have a confession to make. I grew up with a father, much like Will Smith in the movie In Pursuit of Happiness, one of my favorite movies. And he's talking to his son, if you want something, just go get it. And my dad would tell me that. You want something, John, just go get it. Don't let anything stop you. So I'm in the lobby last night at the hotel, and I hear Dr. Chang mentioning that he is on age-lock youth. I I went to the front desk and said, "Hi, I'm Mr. Chang, and I've lost the key to my room." She said, "You don't look like Mr. Chang." I said, "Ni hao." She said, "Here's your key." Went into Joe's room. Thank you, Joe. Looks like I got about a half month's supply. Life's great. I mean, I love everything about this company, where we're at. I can tell you that having been here now over 20 years, 2 decades, a lot of times we've stood in front of groups and said, this is a magical time. But none of us that have been around that long believe that there's anything that can compare what's going to happen over the next several years. So congratulations to you for being in the right place at the right time, for sure. The 2 others were introduced as doctors. I'm not. Feeling a little, let me just ask you, Joe, Larry, have you done 1,000 total hips? You ever in surgery done any total knees? No. I have. Just so you know. So I sold orthopedic devices. Back in my day, we did the surgery. Things were changing so quickly with orthopedic instrumentation and implants that doctors literally would stand back and just watch because they were unfamiliar with the new instrumentation. Things were moving at such a rapid rate. So we literally did thousands and thousands of surgeries. This is a book called Salesman's Surgeon about what happened during those times. Well, in this case, unfortunately, the doctors weren't even in the room. So they were indicted from the Hospital of Special Surgery by a grand jury. But nevertheless, it was one incredible ride. For a young man who bailed from college after 1 semester because a professor looked him in the eye and said, "I don't see it in you to pursue what you're doing in education. Go get the world. You can get it." And I did. And I had parents that always told me, as I said, "You can get anything you want." So I went out, and it was an incredible ride. From being first, like you are, a beginner, I had to learn. One of the things that we'll find in this healthcare professional world and in our business in general, the word mentors. There's residents and interns and doctors. They learn. It's stepping. You will learn too. I did as well. The whole secret to my success in this part of my business was mentoring. And it's very, very stressful. I might be doing a spinal surgery. 4 hours later, I could be doing a total hip revision. Then I could be doing an external fixation. There were a lot of things to remember. I would be up at 2 in the morning reading surgical protocols and surgical techniques. And I have a whopping high school degree. But all I needed to know is that there were people out there that had already figured it out. And I just had to do what they did. And I too could be successful. So I want to take a little bit. This is a group of some of our sales reps when we actually stood in front of this entire company, now purchased by Bristol Myers, and won the Sales Team of the Year for everybody in the entire United States. We were in Colorado and the Dakotas and Wyoming. What was so interesting is not one of them had a medical degree. Not one of them had a science degree. Like most of the reps out there had either been former assistants or PAs. So we were proud of that. So how did I go from that to multi-level marketing? And even though in a healthcare professional world, that is the category we're thrown in. That was a very, very tough transition. Dr. Coulter just mentioned his first mindset. And so in 1989, December, I was approached with Nu Skin. And I did not have any interest at all. Found out my wife had been using the products. But there's something in all of our brains that when people ask us and challenge us to really look at it, that we really want to see it. Again, maybe proving that it's not right. And so I made the transition. In the healthcare profession today too, there's a lot going on. There's a ton going on in changes. My heart goes out to so many of those loyal healthcare professionals that have done everything they needed to do to be successful, but the rules of the game changed along the way. from reimbursements to all kinds of issues that have taken the fun out of it for many, the profit out of it for most, and the future and the certainty of the future for almost everyone. Doesn't mean practicing medicine is not good and that people shouldn't still go to medical school. It simply means it's a different game, and we're finding more and more of them that want to be involved in something else, as this article talks about. But where do they go to find the type of science that Dr. Chang talked about? Companies willing to invest, not just millions, and not just tens of millions, but now we're into hundreds of millions of dollars of science and innovation. Rare and unheard of in our industry, but it's who we are. It's our culture. Okay, we just don't do things the same way other companies do it. We lead the way in that, and so we're a perfect environment for people that have to connect all the dots. They have to see the science. They have to have it validated. My brain works that way too. If somebody just tries to give me the anecdotal story, I just can't go there. It doesn't work for me. Essential oils was a perfect case study. When I first heard about essential oils from my neighbor, I wished her well and then, told her that, whenever she needed to practice voodoo, she could do it somewhere else. It just seemed so out of character until one day my granddaughter is being fussy with colic. I didn't even know what that was. I just know that she was crying. And my daughter's massaging her, and she stops crying, and they give the credit to this oil. And I'm thinking again, no way. So a couple Sundays later, same baby, same cry. They go to put the oil on. I said, wait a minute. I go in, I have a little mineral oil I can find. I said, I want you to rub this on. The baby didn't stop crying. Then she took her oil and put it on the baby and stopped crying. Must be real. Must be something to it. Now my wife and I sleep with a diffuser with lavender every night. My life's changed. I mean, it's crazy how we can believe, but I had to see the science. I had to understand, and Dr. Chang will reveal sometimes the studies we're doing about essential oils. Very, very fascinating. So I make that transition. What do we need to tell the world about what's different? First off is almost everybody in our industry talks about today. Most of them because they don't have a past. Okay, they don't have the records. They're just a startup company, so they can't. We have a 30-year rich history of integrity and honesty and innovation. Company doing what they say. Presently, you're here today in the present. We act in the present. We make our money in what we do in the present. But I don't know about you. I don't want to be with a company that is not also looking to the future. Now, being publicly traded requires that to happen. This company needs to and performs such to show shareholders a positive return. That means they can't just sit back like some companies and say, we've done well. Let's relax. Let's enjoy life. They have to keep churning out new products and new science. That's why it's important, but the vision, the absolute vision of where this company wants to go and is headed and willing to spend the money is the secret. And yes, you could go to a room filled to this size, probably across town, and hear a message with compelling products and same word tracks. To me, this is it. Just look at the 30-year history. Look at where we're at today. And then this company, Joe, how far out are we in science? I mean, right now in products that you're looking at down the future? Several years?
At least 10.
At least 10 years in the future, they're mapping out products unheard of inside of our world. So we're just a different group. Now, I find it also fascinating, if we could go back to 1984, you had two very geeky looking guys with eyeglasses that looked like they were, Fearless Fly or whatever that character used to be, and one lady that looked like Farrah Fawcett, all gathered together with a dream. And to my knowledge, they had three things that came out of their several meetings to start this company. One was, what will the logo be? They chose 31 years ago the fountain of youth. Secondly, what would the slogan be? All of the good, none of the bad. And thirdly, what will our culture be? And they said, a force for good. 31 years later, that fountain of youth sits on a couple $100 million worth of buildings dotted all over the world. The 6S process, when we acquired Pharmanex, makes that all of the good and none of the bad come true and outperform all of our competitors. And the Force for Good Foundation and Nourish the Children, where my heart always just gets soft, over 400 million nutritious meals as part of our plan provided to children that if they didn't have it, may not be here. What an amazing way to, can you believe 31 years ago they have that vision and we're still on the same track? How many companies just change in the middle and say, you know what, it's not working? Okay, we've decided we're not going to do what we said we were going to do. So they're visionaries, people with true vision. That means money. That means that they've got to go out and invest. Joe showed you the scientists, and he showed you the wall of scientists. I urge you, once a month there's a meeting in Utah. Make sure you get there. Have the opportunity to tour and meet some of these scientists and hear it's more than just names and titles. These people and the roles they play and what they do for our future is so key, and it's a collaboration of many, many different disciplines. It's what I've noticed. They always introduce me when they're always trying to recruit me to another company. Come and meet our doctor. Very impressive, great credentials, and a great story. But one narrow discipline, it's their specialty. You can't have that inside of it. You need all these different talents and disciplines to make it happen. And so as we move forward, and we go out to the world, and we know that there will be everything from that millennial group, and that millennial group's a powerful group, all the way up to the people who thought they might retire, and for whatever reason don't want to. I'll be 63 years old in August, and I never thought I would work in my 60s. And now I don't think I want to stop ever because of what I do. It's too fun. Let's talk about that age group for just a second. Who's going to come to these buildings and look at it? The millennial group, I love them, but I get a chance to work out at the same place where Robert and Kim Kiyosaki work out. It's in Phoenix, and I think Kim's a real smart one in that group, and Robert's really great on stage. But, all right, I know that's on recording, and that's going to get there. Robert, you're a star. No, it's great. They signed a book for me, his new book that he's just put out. But I loved one of the quotes in the book, and it said that the millennial is an attitude, not an age group. And it really hit me, because that's how I feel. I feel the same way that 22-year-old that says, you know what, I don't want a big corporate title position where I have to report to work and have a boss and have a salary. I don't want that. I want an open schedule. I want to leave the world better than I found it. I want to make my money actually helping other people make money, not just making money because of the title. I totally share that same millennial attitude, and I think many of you do too, and I think we will be recruiting. But remember, it's probably not an age group. It's this new attitude in it, and it will fill rooms like this and double and triple and quadruple as the uncertainty. Because remember when a college degree meant you would make more money? You remember when investing in a big house meant that you could sell it with a lot of equity and retire? You remember when you bought stock and all you had to do was wait for it to go up and sell it and you were rich? Remember those? I mean, that was some of the principles that don't exist like they did once before. So we now offer the solution. And so as we get into science, you've heard about them today, these are game changers. You put somebody's hand on this scanner, this S3 scanner, while they're having their less than 1 minute experience, you're talking to them about what this means in the reading. This little device has a chance to break down all of the misconceptions and give somebody finally a baseline or a number somewhere to start, and then they can actually start on a road to improvement. It's the key and has been to a big, big portfolio of our business. This product, I believe someday we'll probably see this same device, because we've seen how it's got from a very big device to smaller and smaller, probably be about the size of a deck of cards in a few years, and you'll be carrying it around in your pocket and Bluetoothing. But it is what separates us from all other companies. And the product that goes with it. You know, and when you're committed to this, I always break products down to two products: the ones I want and the ones I absolutely have to have. And there are luxury products. You know, to me, probably the skincares are luxury, because I have a mirror and I look in it and say, I'm not so sure you're going to get much more improvement out of this. But on this one, it is a no way, I don't leave home without it. You know, our children have been taught this is your best shot of having, as Larry showed the slides, Dr. Couture, the two different age groups. We want to be those that preserve our age as long as possible. And the company's doing their part. So to know that we have the scanner and this product that works together really makes it all work. Now I'll close with what I said is dear to my heart. I want you all as healthcare professionals and people interested in the world to understand the philanthropic side of this. And so, well over a decade ago, the company was introduced to a group that was formulating food that wouldn't just feed starving children, but would nourish them. The food was very basic at that time, but because we had scientists that felt like they could use their expertise, they spent the money to acquire the company and started working on a formulation of balancing vitamins and minerals. I heard about it back then. The number was 0 meals. So many we had delivered when we started. This program, over time, has gained popularity. I don't know what your financial situation is. I just know that when you engage and you do whatever you can with your family to buy at least one bag, that's 30 meals, your life will change. We have a little extra coin, all of our extra change, and it's a bulb. And every time we come in the house, we all throw our change in there. And that's how the kids and the grandkids know they're contributing to those bags we buy, so that they can feel part of this. And I share this with you because very few companies have a heart piece, an actual piece that sits in the middle that we know will do well. At the rate we're going, 1 billion meals is now right on the radar. Now, as we get into 1 billion meals of nutritious meals, you realize that we rival almost every corporation and all but a few governments in relief food provided to children as a company with an initiative. Is that amazing? And so this quote, this is my son and I. He was 19, just getting ready to leave to go to Brazil for 2 years. We went to Malawi, Africa, to see where some of the food is actually grown and what's the word I'm looking for? Distributed. And he had a chance, and we turned him into a photographer. We just said, your job is to just take lots of pictures. He then found this quote when he came home, and he said, and he emailed it to me from Brazil. And he said, Dad, I thought of this in our trip to Brazil. A reward for reaching our career goals is not only what we get for it, but what we become by it. I hope all of you reach the goals you have. Money's part of that. Lifestyle is part of that. Giving back is part of that. But I assure you that this company is going to go. They're going to continue to go and grow. They're not able to discriminate and discern who will be part of it. It's not who they are. They make the products, they put together the marketing. Let's have a big hand for Jared Warburton, by the way. Much of what you see in the packaging of the Epic and the way that things are done over in that room is a result of Jared and his team, and it's fabulous. But the company can't discern that. It's not there. We get to choose of those billions and billions of dollars of new income created, what part will go to our team. So wish you all the very best and turn it back over to Jared. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Excellent job. I hope you all have enjoyed this session. Who feels like they've gained something valuable by being here? I mean, there have just been so many great little nuggets of information that I hope you're able to take home and use in your business and in your practices. It's been a wonderful session. We have the Expo starting in just a few minutes at 10 o'clock right next door. So we hope you'll stick around. If you're new to the company, if you haven't had a chance to get scanned with the biophotonic scanner, we have several over there. I encourage you to do so. I encourage you to take advantage of the Expo. Stay as long as you'd like. We're so glad you're here, and thanks for coming today. Take care.